Hey everyone, I'm Francesca Froio and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will show you how to create a perfect hair by hair technique on the eyebrows with permanent makeup. And some people mistake it often with microblading, but this is actually two different topics. So it's true you can achieve hair by hair both with a permanent makeup machine and with a microblading tool. But in today's video, I'll show you my favorite technique, which is with a permanent makeup machine. So no question, hair by hair, it's one of the top, maybe the most requested technique into the industry. It gives this extreme, soft and natural look to your brows, but unfortunately it's also one of the most difficult techniques on the market. Why? Well, because first of all, it's difficult to create a natural pattern of hair, and second, it's super difficult to achieve a fine hair stroke. And this is what we're going to talk in today's video. Are you ready? Let's start. Hi guys, today we're going to treat a very interesting topic, which is how to achieve perfectly fine hair strokes in permanent makeup of eyebrows. You will see in reality, while we are tattooing into the skin, how different hand movement and different skills, different position of your hand or position of the handpiece you're using or different angle of the needle into the skin will influence the final result you will achieve. So let's jump straight into the demonstration. First of all, let's compare the pushing movement and the releasing movement. What I'm doing now is a pushing movement. I'm pushing the needle into the skin, and now I'm releasing the needle out of the skin. As you can see, the pushing movement has implanted a little bit more of pigment into the skin in comparison to the releasing one, and the line appears a little bit more defined. Now let's compare the angle in which we keep the handpiece. The first line, I'm doing it with my handpiece at 50-60 degrees, in any case in an angle in comparison to the surface that I'm tattooing, in this case the skin. And the second line, I'm doing it with my handpiece perpendicular to the skin. So 90 degrees from the skin. As you can see, the 90-degree angle has released a finer line in comparison to the 50-60 degrees angle, which also means that the 60 and 50 degrees angle will implant more pigment into the skin, but the line, it's going to be slightly wider. Another example again, now we want to evaluate the speed of the hand, the speed of the movement into the skin. So the slower my hand goes, just like this, the more time I give to the needle to deposit more pigment into the skin. And indeed, as you can see, the second line, I did it pretty quickly, and the result is that the second line is barely visible. I didn't implant enough pigment at all. So, better to always keep a slow movement if you want to implant pigment into the skin. The fourth and last example now, it's a comparison between using a continuous line movement and a back and forth movement. As you will see, the back and forth movement releases double the amount of pigment than in comparison to a continuous line, which makes it ideal for building up intensity for hair by hair technique. If you want to achieve a very intense saturation of the line, back and forth movement will give you exactly that. The aim of this video is not to tell you what movements are correct and what are not, because basically all the movements are correct. A complete artist needs to be able to use all of this movement, all of these tricks into the creation of his art. So when we create eyebrows, for example, Sometimes we want to release more pigment and we are gonna use, I don't know, 45 degrees angle handpiece. Other times we wanna, release less pigment and we're gonna use a 90-degree angle. Sometimes we wanna push the pigment in to have a more crispy line. Sometimes we want to release the needle out of the skin. The trick is to be able to do all of these techniques and use them whenever you think is necessary to achieve the perfect natural result that we all want. In the meanwhile, I like to take you with me during this touch-up session, and the treatment that I'm doing, as you can tell, is hair by hair. What I personally like to use is a back and forth movement because I do not want to go over the same hair stroke more than once. Otherwise I might lose my precision, I might not be able to go over the same line twice. And so in order not to do so, I want to release the perfect saturation, the perfect amount of pigment in just one pass. And this is why I love to use back and forth movement, because it gives me exactly that. If I would have used a continuous line, I would have had to go over the same hair stroke 1, 2, 3 times. But I know a lot of very good artists that use this technique. Lucky them if they can do so. For me, I like to choose the easiest way possible, which for me, it's back and forth movement. And the angle of my handpiece is 90 degrees, perpendicular to the skin, because I want these hair strokes to be as fine as possible. But still, I want to implant enough pigment to be able to have a perfect healed result. Because sometimes we see on Facebook, on Instagram, on the net in general, we see those hair strokes that are so fine, so natural. But guys, what we need to think is that if we do not implant enough pigment into the skin, nothing is gonna stay after the healing process, which takes approximately 30 days. So, yes, we want a fine hair stroke, but we also want to implant enough pigment so that that hair stroke will still be visible 30 days after. The needle I'm using, it's a 1-point HD needle, which is in general my favorite for hair stroke because it gives these very fine hair strokes and it's super stable. So it has a special configuration inside of the cartridge that prevents the needle from shaking right and left, which gives me additional precision during the procedure. And the device I'm using is Maestro from Biotech. It's a made in Italy device. And what I like the most about this device is that it's so powerful. I really do not need to push so much to implant the pigment. The device does it all for me. It even has a double processor inside that reads the resistance of the skin to the needle while we are tattooing, so automatically adjusts the pressure of the needle into the skin. This means that this device is so innovative, it can help you to maintain exactly the same depth of implantation of the pigment throughout the whole eyebrow treatment. I'm saying eyebrows now because we're talking about eyebrows, but I mean during whatever treatment you're doing. So this is why we call it the new era of permanent makeup. I'm just in love, obsessed with it. And we all know how bad it is when the pigment gets implanted too deep. Technically, there is an ideal layer of the skin in which we should deposit the pigment, which is the superficial dermis. And if we implant it in the lower derma, the pigment may turn into a grayish pigment and may blur at the side. So the crispy hair stroke that we all desire would actually become a blurry line after the healing process, which takes 30 days. This is why it's so important to deposit the pigment in the right layer of the skin. Otherwise, you jeopardize the naturalness of the result. So, the difficulty for us, permanent makeup artists, is that if we implant it too superficially into the skin, we implant it in the epidermis, which exfoliate with the cellular turnover, and this would mean that the pigment would completely disappear after 30 days, which is the cycle of our regeneration of the skin. And if we implant it too deep into the lower derma, the color would change, color would become grayish and will migrate at the side. So we really need to be extremely careful in implanting the pigment exactly in the superficial layer of the derma. And even more difficult is that the derma is not always at the same depth in every type of skin. Actually, it's different in all the skin types depending on the age of the client or the type of skin of the client. So an experienced permanent makeup artist will be able to determine what depth is the ideal depth of implantation of the pigment into the skin. And this device helps you with this difficult thing. If you're liking these video tutorials, first of all, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so that you can be sure you're not going to miss the next video tutorial. If you have any suggestion on what we should treat next time or any question on what we did today, feel free to leave a comment down below. Here we are. This is the final result of our touch-up session of eyebrows permanent makeup. Here's the result. What do you think, guys? I'm in love. I love those brows. They're just as beautiful as my model today. Really, I'm pretty satisfied with the result. What do you guys think? So what do you think, guys? Did you enjoy the video? Did you learn something new? I hope so. I really hope so. So this was just a preliminary information on the handpiece and on the manual skills and movements. But if there is something else you would like to see or would like me to treat in the next videos, please let me know in the comments down below. Remember that this channel is for you guys, so I will create the videos that you guys request. And don't forget, please, to share some love, to put a thumb up to this video and to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching me today, and I see you in the next videos. Ciao!